let's dive right in. Today we're going to be talking about just garden basics. Starting out, we're just going to be talking about deciding what to plant. So, how do I decide what I want to plant? How do I make that decision? Well, there's about six different things that you can look over when deciding what to grow your in your garden. You want to start by knowing your climate and your growing zone. This helps you pick plants that will thrive in your area. Next, think about how much space and sunlight you have available. Some plants need full sun, while other plants do well in partial shade. Then consider your purpose. Are you going to feed your family, attract pollinators, or just enjoy the beauty of flowers? Your experience level also matters. If you're new to gardening, starting simple with easy to grow veggies like lettuce or tomatoes, because you don't want to go all in with harder vegetables because they're not going to succeed, which can kind of destroy your confidence in it, and you don't want to do that from the beginning. Don't forget to schedule. Some plants need daily care, while others are low maintenance. So that's going to be looking at that time and commitment. How often can you put into these plants? And finally, think about what you and your family actually enjoy eating or using. There's no point in growing something no one wants. Choosing the right plants can make your gardening journey more successful and enjoyable. So the next question is, when should I plant? Timing matters. Knowing your zone, frost dates, and best times to sow seeds. How can you find this out? You can check USDA hardness zone. On there, it's a map and it shows the different temperatures and what's going to help you decide what's going to grow best and what's not going to grow best. There's also a bunch of different resources to learn about how to start your garden. Checking out that website is definitely worth it. Finding frost dates. You can do that just by hitting that old Google button and figure out what the frost dates are in your area. And using planning calendars. The almanac is the best resource that you are going to have for your homestead, especially when it comes to gardening. They have a planning calendar in there that can tell you what to grow and when to grow it. So definitely checking out those resources is something that's going to be really helpful to you when you're deciding what to plant and when to plant too. Because again, it's going to be different for everyone depending on where they're at and what their climate is. Maybe you're like, I'm not 100% sure where I actually want to plant this. Well, these are things you want to look for: full sun, access to water, and good drainage. Those are the three big things that your plants are going to need. Your plants, they need light, water, and healthy soil. So place your garden where it gets at least 6 hours of sun every day. This will help your plants grow. And there are some plants that they barely need any sunlight. So again, that's going back to deciding when to plant and what to plant. That it all works together. They go hand in hand, each one of these steps. You just got to do your research to try to figure out what is going to work best for you. When deciding what to grow, that can come down to the seed packet. And maybe you don't know how to read a seed packet. Well, let's talk about that because some seed packets are very different. So we're going to go through three different seed packets that are different but are all saying the same thing. So let's look at these sweet peppers. It says that they need full sun. So when you plant them, they're going to need somewhere that gets a lot of sunshine. It takes 75 days to harvest. So by the time that you have put it in the ground and they start growing, it's going to be 75 days until you're able to actually have a pepper. Depth, a fourth of an inch. That's how deep they need to be in the ground. And then 18 to 24 inches apart, that means how far apart each plant needs to be spaced. Later on in this video, we're going to talk about a seed starter pack. So if we're starting our plants indoor, and this says that this is a container-friendly plant. So if you did live in that apartment, you could plant this in a container. You can also start these inside. The part that has United States, that's going to show us when we can transplant it. So if we start it inside, as the directions explain to us, it's going to tell us how to do that, what it's going to look like. We can go to this map and we can see when we want to transplant it, when we can put it in the ground. So for Oklahoma, that's going to be from April to June is when we can take our plant from inside to outside. All right, so let's talk about this package of squash. So we see the back is a little bit different than our sweet peppers were, but we're still getting the exact same information. The only thing is we don't have the map, so maybe this is when we could go look at the hardness zone and try to figure that out to help us a little bit, or the almanac to help us a little bit in deciding when to plant this. So let's read. Planting dough. We're going to have 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. Then two, that means the space between the plants. It's just a different wording for it. Sun or shade. This squash needs a lot of sun. You can start indoors. You should start at 14 to 21 days before the last frost. Again, you can look at the almanac or the hardiness map, and that can tell you when the last frost is. So a direct sow is going to be after danger of frost. And then squash is going to be mature about 70 to 90 days. So that's just, again, just the information that's giving that we want to follow as we are going through this process of planting these seeds. I'm going to demonstrate today the steps that you can take in order to start that. I'm going to be using onions, cilantro, peppers, tomatoes, parsley, oregano seeds. I'm going to have the spray bottle of water, and then this will be the pack. So let's dive right in. First, I'm going to start off by labeling each one of my seeds, so once I put them in, I know exactly what's growing there, so I'm not confused later. So I just am taking popsicle sticks and a Sharpie and just writing each and every one of those out. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab my seed packet so I can begin planting my seeds. I'm just measuring to make sure that's going to fit. First, I'm going to pull out my seeds, which sometimes is a little hard, especially with littler seeds like oregano is. I'm going to just make a little bitty hole. It does not need to be that deep. I read my package and it just needs to be about a little less than an inch. And so I'm just going to take the top of my finger, put a little hole in there, and drop my seeds right in. And I'm going to do that with each of my seeds. I'm going ahead and watering the soil though, just to give it a little bit more moisture, which makes it a little bit easier to get the seed in, as well as just giving the soil moisture because the plant is going to need it, and the seed is going to really appreciate that. So it's just kind of helpful in that matter as well. I'm only putting about 2 to 3 seeds in each one of these. Oregano, I put about 4 to 6. If your seed packet doesn't say that, you can look at the almanac again. It's going to tell you how many you can put in a seed starter pack to kind of help you out with that as well. And again, I'm just putting them in it, and then I'm putting my label on top and just adding a little bit of water on top of those. So that was my onion seeds. And then finally, here's my pepper seeds. I'm just using a popsicle stick this time, covering that up. And then I'm gonna give them all a good little squirt of water. And then this is what my pack looks like. All right, so you've done your indoor seed pack and your plants are getting ready to go outside. These are the different steps of what we're going to take in transplanting our seedlings. First, timing matters. Wait until the seedling has 2 to 3 sets of true leaves. Once they have this 2 to 3 sets of true leaves, then we can start this process of transplanting. The first step is we're going to want to harden off first. This is what I talked about earlier. This is gradually exposing the seedlings to outdoor sun/wind for about 7 to 10 days. Then once we're ready to actually put it in our garden or a new pot outside, we're going to want to prepare the soil. So we're going to loosen the soil and moisten soil before planting. And then when we transplant, we're going to want to transplant gently, handle by leaves, not by stems, to avoid damage. And then we're going to want to plant at the right depth, same depth as the container or slightly deeper if you're doing like tomatoes. Then we're going to want to water immediately. This helps the roots settle and reduces transplant shock, so our plants won't immediately die once they go outside or in a new environment. So maybe you have a little bit more land and you're trying to decide, should I do raised beds or in the ground gardening? Raised beds are great if you want better soil control, easier access, and less bending. They also drain well and warm up quicker in the spring. But on the other hand, in-ground gardens are often more affordable and allow you to grow larger crops. However, they might take a little bit more work up front and can be prone to weeds or poor damage. So there's really no wrong choice. It just depends on what fits your homestead best, what you're looking for, and what you want to do when it comes to your garden. So definitely looking at all aspects of that is really important. Just again, deciding what is going to work best for me in my homestead. Another thing to look at when we're deciding to move our plants outside is we can look at companion planting because there are some plants that they do not work well together. One place that you can see all of the different companion plants is going to be the almanac again. I have the URL on here, so I definitely recommend screenshotting the slide for later. But let's just talk about why companion planting is a good thing. One, better growth. Some plants can actually help each other grow stronger and faster. Second, natural pest control. Certain plants keep pests away from their neighbors. It can also improve flavor. Herbs like basil can enhance the flavor of nearby veggies. Also, it's efficient use of space. Tall and short plants can be paired to share space and light effectively. Also, weed suppression, and this is a big one. Garden covering plants help block weeds from growing. Also, we have disease prevention. Spacing and pairing wisely reduces the chance of disease spreading. Also, pollination support. Flowers nearby attract bees and butterflies to help pollination. Learning which plants grow well together can make your garden more productive and easier to manage. Some plant combos improve each other's growth or flower, while others will work like that natural pest control team. So definitely looking at the almanac and trying to decide which ones we want to put together is definitely something I would do, and I highly recommend because that can immensely improve your garden. All right, as we come to the end of today's video, I just want to leave you with a few tips to take with you as you go. One, start small and build your confidence. You don't have to go all in with buying every single plant that you possibly can and trying to make this huge garden. When you do decide what you're going to grow, make that garden plan of your what, when, and where. Choose beginner-friendly plants. Give your plants what they need: sun, water, and love. Yes, plants need love too. And keep a journal or take photos to track your progress so you can see where you came from and where you started. Once you've done all these things, you're ready to grow. Well, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video.